Hello and welcome back to Joe's Nose College Basketball Episode 1. Not really welcome back. Welcome to a start of the season. This is our second season doing the college basketball show, and game started on Monday night, and here we are going to be posting this on Wednesday afternoon. We're going to be going through our top five teams currently in the preseason going into the regular season, who we really think is going to win the March Madness, and then our conference winners for the big six conferences. Of course, we have Giacomo Imperiale, Will Kukowski, and me, Jack Kemmler. We'll get straight into it. We'll go with Guac's top five.
Yeah, I'm going to start off with the best team in the country. It should be consensus. Kyle Kukowski coming in with this spectacular freshman class. The Duke Blue Devils should be everyone's number one team. They're going to be very proven very soon, and just 5 stars all over the map. They're on paper the best team in the country. Number 2 is where the best transfer in the whole portal landed, and that's Hunter Dickinson lands at Kansas with an already established roster and just a great staff all around Hunter Dickinson. This team should be able to ball. Number 3, another very proven team. I think you guys can realize my trend here. Most of these teams already have proven rosters and past March Madness success. Like number 3, the Marquette Golden Eagles. I mean, this team is just so legit. Tyler Kolek is an absolute bucket. I mean, this team, to me, on paper, is once again absolutely crazy. Number 4, a little bit of a shock, is the FAU Owls. Went to the Final Four last year. And the reason why, for me, that they're here is they made a Final Four, and they barely lost anyone. They lost their point guard, and that's about it. All the rest of their starters are back in the same uniform, so there's zero reason why they can't do it again. So to me, that they're already a top 5 team if they already went to the Final Four last year. And number 5 is the most sneaky team, I feel like. It's the Texas Longhorns. Getting Max Abmas out of the transfer portal is absolutely huge for this roster, and already, once again, a very proven Texas Longhorns team. I think that they can really make some noise in the Big 12, so that's my top 5, Jack.
All right, well.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna skip over Duke and Kansas because Jock and I got the same here. As Jock said, Duke and Kansas are the 2 chalk best teams so far. I see them maybe losing a few games here or there, but throughout, I think they're just gonna be the 2 best teams. They're super proven. But number 3, I'm gonna change up. I have Tennessee here. This Tennessee team is the same Tennessee team we see come out every year. They're going to be an elite defensive team. They're going to be probably top 5 defensive team by the end of the year, except they shoot the 3. They're going to shoot the 3 probably top 10, top 15 in college basketball this year. All 5 guys on the team can shoot the 3. They are a lethal team. They crash the board super well. They get second chance points. This team is a very competitive team, both offensively and defensively. They always end up in March Madness, and I think that they have a roster that could finally put them over this year. And Creighton, they lose Nemhart. He transfers over to Gonzaga, but they still have Ryan Kalkbrenner, and to me, he's a difference maker. He 7'2" guy who could shoot the 3, at the same level as some guards in college basketball is scary. He's a Zach Edey type player, has ability to take handle of this team. Plus the other superstars that Creighton has surrounded them with, they returned 2 of their top scorers as well. And they also have a very good class coming in behind them. I really like this Creighton Blue Jays team. And to wrap it off, a team that I really like, and I'm really going to point out here, is this USC Trojans team. And this is a team that has been called overrated, and it's strictly because Bronny James has committed there. And it's kind of outrageous. I get it. I get it. People don't like LeBron James, and they're going to hate his son. But to really, the fact that USC started off 21st in the AP poll is insane. They have Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier as a 1-2 duo. That's ridiculous. And then their power forward, Kobe Johnson, had a very strong season, averaged 10 points a game last year, come back this year, and he's filling in while Bronny James is out. And until Bronny comes back, that trio is going to be really good. And when Bronny comes back, USC is going to get better. This is a team that I see competing in the long run, not right away. They had a very good win early on, but I see them just keep on getting better as time goes on.
Yeah, well, I don't obviously super early, so I can't really debate anything too much. The one thing I do want to point out, though, I'm a big fan of this USC Trojan team as well. Isaiah Collier, I'm absolutely huge on him. But here's my one problem with that is that there's just a better Pac-12 team out there, and that's the Arizona Wildcats. I mean, getting Caleb Love out of the transfer portal is absolutely huge. You still get Ballo back for another year. So, listen, I think that both teams are very, very good. But to me, on paper, I think I'd still take that Wildcats team just with a slight edge because they still have a proven player in Ballo. And once again, Caleb Love is an absolute stud. And I think that the change of scenery is much, much needed for him. And he's going to ball out this year.
Yeah, and the Arizona Wildcats were strictly the only team that really, in my mind, were keeping USC out of the top 5. Yeah. UCLA, I know you're a UCLA supporter. I know they got guys coming in. I don't think they have the team that can do it this year. I think these two teams at top are just too top heavy.
For sure.
But to me, I think the Caleb Love the Wildcats got and that the Wildcats fans believe they have is not the Caleb Love that's going to be producing. I think this is a guy who still averaged 12 points a game last year. I know he got a year more to improve, but how much more can he improve? We saw him degress a lot last year, and going to a new team, a new scenario where he's not even the number one guy, I don't know how well he will do. So I'm banking on the fact that I don't really like Caleb Love this season.
But he's not. He doesn't have to be a superstar. Like he fits in that role as the number 2 guy. Like he can be a legit number 2 guy on one of the best teams in the country. And that's what I think Arizona is. Ballo is going to be your ball dominant guy. He's your number 1 option. If you need a bucket down low, you give it to him. And Love is your outside perimeter shooter, and he'll be your number 2 guy that you can lean back on. He doesn't have to be the star. He just has to shoot about medium to average. He just has to have good efficiencies from behind the arc and just have an overall just super non-ball dominant season. That's what they have to do, and that's how Arizona's going to be able to succeed, in my opinion.
All right, moving on to my top 5. Of course, I have Duke to start off with the first. Just to quickly mention my Duke Blue Devils. Been watching them since 2013. The first time they've had 4 or more returning starters in over 10 years. It's not since Coach K left, or rather, like the Coach K's last 10 years. He always brought in 5 stars, and he always started 3+ 5 stars. And now I think when you have 4 returning starters, especially Jeremy Roach Sr., Kyle Filipowski, looking like he's going to win the Player of the Year. I mean, he definitely can. You have 3 guys on the bench who are 5 stars. This is easily the deepest Duke team I've seen in my lifetime. Then moving on to the Marquette Golden Eagles, and it's really the reason Jock said why he likes FAU. They have returning 8 out of their 9 top scorers. They're returning Tyler Kolek, the Big East Player of the Year, and lights out shooter Cam Jones. There's not really a weakness to this Marquette team. They just won the Big East. They won the Big East tournament. Why can't they do it again in March? And then number 3, I have Tennessee Volunteers. They just played Michigan State in a preseason game without their 2 All-American guards in Ziegler and Vescovi, and they still beat them. The 2 transfers that came in to play that game combined for 48 of the 89 points against Michigan State. Adding more offense through the transfer portal with a defensive mind coach, I think Tennessee, the sky is the limit for that team. Then I have Kansas at 4. I know you guys have them at 2, but I'm not a big fan of Hunter Dickinson. I think he's going to get a rude awakening in the Big 12. It's way different than the Big 10. I think they're going to play him a little bit tougher. And the thing about March, in my opinion, is you need firepower, and I don't see as much firepower on Kansas as I see as the 3 teams above them. And then my 5th team is the Houston Cougars, moving into the Big 12 for the first season. And I think that's why they're going to be better this year. They've been amazing in March Madness, just haven't got past the Final Four, past 3 years of Final Four appearance and an Elite 8 appearance. But now they're getting LJ Sire from Baylor, Damian Dune from Temple, very good portal lads. Also returning starter Jamil Shahid and Jawan Roberts. I think you get the first season in the Big 12. You get experience during the seasons, which they've never had in the AAC the last couple of years. I think you finally get experience, and you're going to be looking at a good Houston team. But yeah, now I think we're going to move on to our regular season winners for the conferences. We'll start off with the ACC, Duke. Or sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said the name of the team that we're all going to pick. There should really be a debate here. Jack, it should be your Duke Blue Devils across the board. I mean, just looking at this roster, you have Kyle Filipowski is obviously your guy. I mean, Roach is an absolutely stud guard. McCain and Proctor right next to him too. Just like Will said, 5 stars just across the board with this team. They're absolutely legit. And they should really – there's competition, obviously, in every conference, but Duke should be the runaway favorite to win this division.
Yeah, I mean, Duke's going to win it. But I'm going to actually focus my talk a little bit on more about UNC. Once again, same thing with Caleb Love. This UNC team is not going to be that good. They might, flirt with the top 25 for a little bit, but I think eventually they're going to be out. Armando Bacot hit his ceiling 2 years ago and hasn't progressed since. I think RJ Davis is the same. He's just not an elite shooter. I just don't think this team has the. I think they're living on an old dream that they got to let go of. They let go of Caleb Love finally. I don't think this I think this UNC team might finish outside of the top 4 in this ACC, and it's a very uncompetitive ACC.
Yeah, usually Virginia is in the ACC well, and this year they do not look good. Miami won it last year, the regular season, but they lost Isaiah Wong, and they didn't really reimburse him with any guard play, so I don't like him this year as well. I'm easily taking Duke to win the ACC regular season. Moving on to the Big Ten regular season winner, Jock.
Yeah, so I'm going to be very, very honest. I mean, I think you guys are going to talk about the one team that I absolutely love, but I'm going to let a little bit of personal bias here. If you watched the college show last year, my favorite player in college basketball, Terrence Shannon Jr. of the Illinois Fighting Illini, and I'm going to take them to win the Big Ten. This Illinois team is absolutely great. Obviously, I have Terrence Shannon Jr. himself. You have Drake Gibbs Lawthorne transfer. I mean, he's been absolutely balling. He led their scoring in their first game. And they still have Danger. I mean, a lot of people like to hate on Danger and how boring his game is, but he gets the job done for sure. He's going to get a lot of boards, a lot of blocks. And I just think that this Illinois team, once again, a lot of returning guys, a lot of new faces too, with a lot of young talent. I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is an absolute stud. I think he's one of the faces of college basketball. I think he's one of the best shooters in the country, and he'll continue to progress this season. I think Illinois will just narrowly beat the team that you guys are going to talk about, I believe.
Yeah, and Jock, just you gotta watch, the way you throw around the word face of college basketball.
Oh, I think he's a top 20 player in college basketball.
I think I can agree that he's really good, but I think he's super underrated and forgotten about. And I think that's another reason why people don't really give a lot of credit to this Illinois team. And I think Illinois is one of my favorite teams in the Big Ten, but I'm going to have to go with, my team, Indiana. And it's not just because of my team. I know, starting outside of not being ranked, and but to me, Indiana has never come into a season ranked or with much kind of hype behind the team. They have a 5-star transfer that they're bringing in, Khalil Ware, who struggled in Oregon, but I mean, Mike Woodson, coached Trace Jackson Davis to perfection. I mean, he talked about it in the NBA on the Golden State Warriors after he had a double-double in his first start. He said, Mike Woodson is, one of the better college basketball coaches, and that he's setting him up for success. So I think Mike Woodson can take this very young and old roster at the same time, a very diverse roster with different age groups now, with Xavier Johnson, the 6-year senior at the helm. I think Mike Woodson could be able to, take this roster and take them down the Big Ten. I think the only team that could really compete with them outside of Michigan State would be Illinois. I'm not a big fan of Purdue again. They just stink.
Yeah, I don't think we don't really like Purdue because it's just the Zach Edey, the way he plays. And the role players actually have dropped this year. They were way better last year, 3-point shooting coming into this year. They do not look as great, but I had the same Big Ten team. And Will said it, they're coming in the season unranked. And you look at the past 2 years of the Big Ten winners, which were Purdue and Wisconsin, they both came into the year unranked on the AP polls. And that's what I think Indiana as well is going to do. Like Will said, Xavier Johnson returning, one of the best veteran guards in the country. Adon Baku, a top 10 recruit. Khalil Ware was a top 10 recruit last year. And they just really have great role players under Coach Woodson to lead them to a Big Ten championship.
Yeah, and Jack, real quick to hop in, Malik Renew was a 4-star recruit last year that they got was boys with Jalen Hood-Schifino. They came from the same high school. He's had a big game today. Indiana didn't really play well against, I think, FDGU. A 6-point victory is never great against that type of team at home. But Malik Renew had a really good game. He had 16 points, 10 rebounds. So did Khalil Ware. He had like 5 blocks or something. He's gonna be awesome in the paint. I think he's gonna be like a perfect recipe for stopping the guy on Rutgers who is overrated by far. I mean, that Rutgers team is bad.
Yeah,
Don't
Cliff's
know why
overrated.
I'm even worrying about him.
Yeah, real quick, Jack. I want to hop in here too. I mean, I 100% agree with you guys. I think this Indiana team's very slept on. I think they're very good. The viewers out there are going to be wondering, oh, where's Michigan State? Where's Cohen Carr? Where's the rest of the Spartans team? Where's Tyson Walker? They're not good. I mean, they just lost to James Madison in overtime at home. I mean, I think we can all agree that this Michigan State team is very overrated. And I would think that we would all agree with that before they lost to James Madison at home. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of this roster, top and bottom, very, very young. Tyson Walker is going to get you his points, but they're not a good defensive team. They never have been. I think Tom Izzo can make them a good, solid defensive team that's like okay, but they're not going to be that great lockdown team. They're going to let up a lot of points. I don't think they could score that many I don't think they could score that many outside of Tyson Walker.
Yeah, I don't really love Michigan State as well right now, but I think towards the end of the season, I've been a big hater of the Big Ten.
Don't sleep on Michigan State, please.
No, I'm just saying. Towards the end of the season, there's not many Big Ten teams that show up in March, and the two teams that usually do for the Big Ten is Michigan and Michigan State. And I think Michigan State, if Tom Izzo gets them right by March, could be one of the better teams. But right now, regular season winner, I think it's too far fetched for that Michigan State team, just losing to James Madison. But moving on to our Big 12 regular season winner, might be the best conference again in college basketball.
I think it is the best conference for sure. And the reason why I think it's the best conference is one of the best players in college basketball is now in the conference, and that's Max Abmas of the Texas Longhorns. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of this Kansas team. I think they're very good. But this Texas team is legit. I mean, I don't know what was looking at there. I'm a huge Longhorns fan this year. Max Abmas is an absolutely spectacular player. You can say he plays cupcake schedules at Oral Roberts. I don't care. He gets the job done in March. I mean, he's an absolute baller. You surround him. Listen, it is a very, very young team. I get that. But Max Abmas is just such a good player. And the role players around him, I mean, are okay. It's not like they're absolutely terrible. So I really think that they can get the job done against tough Kansas team. I mean, you have Horton at the big man. I mean, Tyrese Hunter is also very, very good.
There we go. That was what I was shaking my head about. The fact that we're leading with the best player in the, like you're saying, wow, this division's awesome. We got Max Abmas. I mean, Hunter Dickinson transferred in. That's the guy you're talking about. But that's besides the point. I don't even think Max Abmas the best guy on his team. Tyrese Hunter is. I mean, this guy was a super hyped up freshman last year, and he produced, but he was young. I recall, I believe he was battling injuries at a point. It was either him or someone else, but he produced last year for Texas. They got far because of him and because of the help of their other senior guard they had. And now Dylan Dessou's back as well. I think this team is a lot more than just Max Abmas. I don't even think the Max Abmas addition really was like that much.
No.
I think it put them over the top. I think if you want to put them over the top, I think the move put them over the top. But we got to be showing love to Tyrese Hunter.
No, we're showing love for sure. I'm just saying that Max Abmas is the face of that team. He's the best player on the team. Don't get me started. Tyrese Hunter is very, very good. Don't get me wrong. Max Abmas is the best player on the team. I mean, he carried a bunch of nobodies to March Madness win. He's an absolute stud. And this Texas team is lethal. I think that they're going to be able to take down the Jayhawks in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, for the Big 12, this is where it comes down to. I think I just want to take Kansas because to me it's just hard to shy away from Kansas, and at heart I want to take another team. But Hunter Dickinson, I mean, Jack said it's going to be a rude awakening. I don't really agree with that. I think the Big Ten was tough for him last year. I mean, the amount of guys he went against that were, really, really solid centers last year. It was every game. I mean, he gave Trace Jackson Davis a run for his money. He gave Zach Edey a working every time. I mean, Hunter Dickinson kind of popped out of nowhere. I think he's also getting a little bit too much hate for no reason. I think he's a guy that just performed all of last year and now is going to a team where he will just perform more. Also in his first game, he had 7 assists. The guy's spreading the ball around as a center. I mean, I really like what this Kansas team has. Bill Self is one of the best coaches, so I'm just going to stick with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I think they're a very, very well-rounded team. Also, in my opinion, I don't know if Hunter Dickinson can lead his team to wins. I don't think he's that type of player to lead his team to wins. But for the Big 12 regular season, I think definitely Kansas could win it. But I'm also going with Texas. And I think Will mentioned it very quickly. Dylan DeSue is coming back. He was the best player in March for Texas. He outplayed Carr and Tyrese Hunter. And look, Marcus Carr was one of the best players in the country. Tyrese Hunter was one of the better players in the country. And Dylan DeSue broke out in March and was one of the best players for Texas. You have Max Avons, of course, coming in for Marcus Carr to fill that role in. They're a little bit weak down low, which is going to hurt them during the season. But I think they're going to come out hot, get the boots running, and I think they'll easily win. Not easily, but definitely win this Big 12 for me. But moving on to our Pac-12 regular season winner.
Yeah, for the Pac-12, I think I talked about it. I get some people in this show aren't as high as on Caleb Love as I am, but I'm going to take the Arizona Wildcats to win the Pac-12 regular season. I think, like Will said, it's a two-headed race. It is between them and USC. But I think that this Arizona team is really, really good. Balo, once again, one of the more proven players in the conference. You add Caleb Love, who has been inconsistent. I would 100% get that. That's with a very, very good freshman class, a lot of young talent, a lot of guys that can prove themselves, I think, early in the season. So I'm a big fan of this Wildcats team. I think they're going to take the regular season away.
I'm going to say, I said it earlier, I'm going to take USC here. But I'm going to say this is my hot take for the year. I think Isaiah Collier is going to win the Player of the Year this year. Wow. I think that he's the best player in college basketball right now. I do like what Jack said about Kyle Flipkowski because he's a dog. He's an absolute dog. He was last year. He is this year. But Isaiah Collier manhandled. He was so good last night. He had 24 points. He was working the paint, step back threes. He was solid from mid range. He was an elite player at all three levels of the court. He was super talented. And then let's also not forget to mention Boogie Ellis, a returning guy who scored 17 last year. I mean, he looked like a wizard on the court. He's one of the best ball handlers in basketball. I love this Arizona team. I think they're great. I don't love Balo as much as people like him. I know he's big. I know he's strong, but I think he's a very sloppy basketball player. I think in tight games his foul troubles can get rampant quick. I think he's gonna start making sloppy plays, committing turnovers in tense games. So I don't really, as I said, Caleb Love to me isn't the elite shooter that everybody says he is. This USC team has just a star-studded team. And outside of Bronny James and Kobe Johnson and Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier, they have 4 or 5 other guys who are four-star recruits just waiting to get in. The freshman class outside of the 2 guys was also pretty star-studded. So this USC team is really good, and I think that they're just going to keep on getting better throughout the year. I think they're going to take down Arizona to win it.
I really like this USC team as well. I just think they're a little too young, and this Arizona team reminds me of Miami last year. They're bringing in the best transfer class, which Miami also did last year. They have 3 starters coming in, like you guys said, Love, but also Keyshawn Johnson and Jane Bradley, 2 very, very good players coming in from the transfer portal. Of course, you guys talking about Bello. I mean, he just had an amazing junior year, and he's coming back for a senior. I think he's still going to be good. And they also have these 2 role players coming off the bench, the duo from Lithuania. I don't know how the Arizona coach got them, but supposedly they're just some great bench players coming off. And I think all around, I really do like this Arizona team to win the Pac-12. Moving on to the Big East, 3 teams at the top of the helm. Who do we have winning it?
Yeah, I don't really think it's 3 teams. I think it's 1, and I think it's a chalk pick. And I hate taking the chalk pick, but I have to for the Big East. It should be the Creighton Blue Jays. I mean, you have Kalkbrenner, you have Ryan Nembhard, you have Trey Alexander. That's a great big 3 right there, around 3 very established guys, all absolute buckets. I mean, this Creighton team is just very, very proven. They won the Big East last year. I'm sorry. Did they win the Big East last year?
No, Marquette.
No, Marquette did, right?
Yeah.
That's on me. Yeah, I mean, this Creighton team, once again, they're just a very, very all-around solid team. Obviously lost the Big East championship to Marquette. I think the Marquette team is very good. But I think if we're just going off a regular season, I think this Creighton Blue Jays team should take it.
Yeah, and I don't know about I don't know about chalk pick for Creighton, but I'm going to take them. I really like, and I said it earlier, I really like Kalkbrenner. I think he's probably one of the best players in basketball. I think he's one of the best shooters in basketball at 7'1", 7'2". That's crazy. And I think the surrounding cast is also very elite over at Creighton. As Jock said, they're a proven team. They've won before, and I think they're going to be able to win this Big East title, even with a very, very loaded Big East. I mean, let's not forget about Marquette. UConn are two just super, super talented team. Jordan Hawkins on UConn is going to be a monster this year. I mean, he's one of the best shooters in basketball as well. And let's not forget, Villanova is returning. Chris, they're returning. They're returning guys.
No.
I like this Villanova team. I think it's a basketball organization that has been elite for very many years. I think they have a good roster, so I think Villanova is going to be a nuisance in the Big East. I don't think they have a chance to win it, but I think they're really going to bother guys. I think they're going to pull off some nice upset wins here or there. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. I'll give you that.
No, they're not good. They're not good. Take it back. I give you 10.
I mean, they are.
No, it's not good. Ever since Jared left, they're not good. Come on.
They're a very good team. They could be a top 10 team sometime in this year if they take.
No. Next,
I think they could be. I think any Big East
top 10 team. Oh no.
I think they could be. Hear me out. Villanova plays a ranked team at home. They could beat a ranked team at home. I think they're a team that can do that. So say they beat a ranked team at home, they could find themselves in the top 10. I think it's a very good team.
All right, bud. Go ahead, Jack.
Look, I also don't think the chalk pick is Creighton. I mean,
I said that. I don't believe the chalk pick at all is Creighton.
Yeah, the Marquette won the Big East last year and returned 8 of their 9 players in the rotating roster. So I think they're easily the chalk pick. I'm also going to go with Creighton here. Really, honestly, losing Nemhart is tough for them, but honestly, it might make him a better team. He was honestly not the greatest shooter. He's very inefficient last year, and they have 3 great scoring threats coming back for them. They also got a great transfer from Utah State, who led Utah State in points, assists, and steals. I expect them to look for revenge after those 2 transfers and Nemhart and Kaluma left them, and they lost in the Elite 8 by 1 point. I expect them to get off to a really, really hot start in the Big East. I also think Marquette is going to be that team that teams are going to want to beat. That's the number one team that teams want to beat in the Big East. That's going to be their best games. Everybody's going to be bringing them their best efforts. But don't go, underlooking UConn. Will said Jordan Hawkins coming back, one of the best shooters in the country. I know Sonogo's gone, but they just brought in the top 10 recruit. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I still think this UConn team could still be very solid.
Yeah, the UConn team, I mean, I had to talk about it a little bit because if I don't, then that's us underrating them. They are right now on paper better than Creighton. I think they're a top 10 team right now. I think they're going to be a top 10 team for a while. As I said, Jordan Hawkins is the type of guy who could, win games for this team, and they have more than just him. This is a very, very good team, and I think this Big East is going to be such a fun watch. I can't wait for a couple months for this Big East tournament because there are so many star-studded teams here.
No doubt. It was a conference that really was never prominent until the last couple of years. It has just been way better. But moving on to our last conference, the last of the 6, a conference that 4 or 5 teams could probably win this regular season, the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take one of the lower end teams that I think is a little bit slept on. I'm going to talk about them again. It's not a chalk pick because I hate the chalk pick. I'm going to go with one of my favorite teams from last year. Again, the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, I get they lost pretty much all of their starting lineup, but we have to get to know the name Khalif Battle. I mean, this guy is an absolute stud. This Arkansas team really just screams like a very, very well-rounded team. Obviously, you have Khalif Battle at guard. Trevin Brazil is the forward. I mean, he's also an absolute defensive stud. This Arkansas team, to me, is a very, very good, well-rounded team. Arkansas teams always play both sides of the ball very well. They're a tough defensive team, and they could score enough offensively to get you the win. So I think that they're just going to squeak it out over Tennessee because obviously I would think that would be pretty much the consensus pick for the SEC.
Yeah, and Jock, I mean, you keep on throwing the word around consensus very confidently, and I don't know about consensus here because, you're talking about two teams that in Kentucky and Texas A&M that are really good, and I think Texas A&M is a little bit more than really good. They have two guys who they're returning a guy who scored 15 points a game last year. They're bringing in a very, very good freshman class, and they have a few good transfers. It's going to be a tough matchup in the SEC. It's not going to matchups we expected, though. Alabama not returning much, not bringing in much. I think they'll be around the top 25 for a while, but I don't think they're going to be a contending team for too long. And then outside of that, I think Arkansas is a very good team. But let's not forget about Kentucky and this freshman class they brought in. The historic freshman class they brought in. And I know how Jack will continuously talk about the youth, but we can't bat an eye to this Kentucky team that has the best freshman class we've seen probably in college basketball history. I'm not a college basketball historian, so I can't tell you for sure. But to wrap all that up, I'm still going to go with Tennessee. I'm going to let Jack go on about that because he knows more about it. But Tennessee, to me, is one of the better defensive teams in the country all the time. Their offense is the best it's been in the past few years. It's a scary Tennessee team. Jack?
Yeah, no, I have Tennessee winning as well. The two All-American guards down low, they're amazing. Defensive-minded head coach, I think. And you add some offense with the transfers. I said it before in the top five. I really like the Tennessee team. I think they're going to win the SEC. Quickly on your best freshman class, Duke 2018, Zion, Cam Reddish, Trey Jones, and RJ Barrett was probably the best. But, that's a lot of bias coming in there as well. But, of course, I have Tennessee winning. But I'm just going to highlight Texas A&M. Will did a little bit. But, look, Wade Taylor, you said 15 points per game last year. He is honestly one of the most fun players to watch in all of college basketball, especially in the SEC. They're bringing back Tyrese Radford, Julius Marble, Henry Coleman, all providing very great stability for this Buzz Williams squad. And there's just a lot of experience playing together as A&M squad who had a couple of good wins last year. And I think you add on to that, give them another year, build some more chemistry. I like this A&M team. I don't think they're going to win the regular season. There's too many good teams. Kentucky, yeah, it's youth. It's just youth does not win in college basketball. I've seen it way too much in my lifetime that youth really doesn't.
Especially this year. I mean, it's crazy how many teams are returning like 3-4 their best starters. Like, I mean, Indiana, they're like, this is a good year for them. Usually they're returning four guys, who had a solid amount of minutes last year, and they're still regarded as a pretty crappy team. So the competitive level of this league has gone up a lot, and Kentucky is still playing their bring in a bunch of freshman game. And I guess it's sending a lot of guys to the NBA, but they're going to fall behind quick.
Yeah. And that really was like a thing of the past. Like I mentioned the 2018 Duke team. It was because there was no transfer portal. These aging guys that are in, outside of that Big Six conference are transferring into the teams that are very good. But now you have this transfer portal who you don't even know who these players are, but they're coming in and they're playing very well because of their age and their experience in college basketball. But that'll do it for us for Joe's Knows College Basketball episode 1. You can follow us on TikTok, SJ Sports Shows. So for Jock Priali, Will Kukowski, and me, Jack Kemler,